Weave is fine. Smile. Well, okay, I'm a one-take wonder. Am I schwitzing? Okay. In this series, I'm given 2 rules. Number 1, I'm given an existing product or convenience food, and number 2, I need to make it better. So in this episode, I've been given hummus. Everyone kind of knows what hummus is. Everyone eats hummus. If you're one of the few people in the world who don't know what hummus is, it's a combination of crushed chickpeas, lemon juice, olive oil, salt, tahini, and garlic. And there really shouldn't be anything else. But what I'm going to do is take this product and I'm going to turn it into a meal, pimp it, and hopefully make it better. Okay, so hummus is the focus, but we are going to have a few other elements. I was thinking to myself, how can we take hummus and pimp it? You don't want to do too much to it. So instead of doing that, I thought, why not rather have a few other elements that go with a slightly pimped version of that to create a delicious meal. So we're also going to be making a pickle. We're going to do some crispy chorizo. We'll pimp the hummus with some harissa. And then we're going to make a very, very easy flatbread, beautiful platter. It's going to be beautiful. I just said beautiful, but it's going to be delicious. Okay, so hummus later. First, the pickle. So, first the quickle. So I say pickle, but I mean quickle because this is going to be a very quick version of a pickle, hence the word quickle. So first in with some onion and just chop it finely. I've got some green olives here. Just give them a rough chop as well, and they're going to get mixed in too. In with a couple of tomatoes. I'm not putting the pulp in because it just gets too watery, and because this is a pickle, I want it to be concentrated flavor. I'm going to go in with some salt, decent amount of salt, some sugar. Give that a bit of a toss together. And the reason I toss those together and coat everything, science whizzes, it's hygroscopic action. And what's happening is it's going to start to break down everything as we've covered it in salt. It'll start to break down those veggies. Then a bit of vinegar. I've just got some red wine vinegar. Toss that through. And then we're going to use an orange. I need a zester, sorry. Thank you, Luce. Forever saving every time I forget something. Just the zest of an orange. And when you're zesting, try and do it in a circular motion. That way you're not going to get any of the pith. And now onto the hummus. So the hummus has already got a lot of flavor. It's got the garlic and lemon juice and everything, but I want to pimp it up a bit. So I'm going to take that same orange and we're just going to use the juice. Not the whole orange, you just want the juice of an orange. Straight in. Every harissa is really different. So some harissa is really strong, some is quite mild. So get to know your harissa, give it a bit of a taste and maybe go a little bit at a time. And we're just going to go in to the bowl. And then I've got some labneh as well. So labneh is just strained yogurt, which you can buy from the supermarket, or if you have yogurt to start with, just strain it through some muslin overnight, and it becomes really nice and thick. And that way we're still going to have a very thick hummus mixture. And this is going to make it really nice and light. Okay, and mix that all in together. So we can set that aside. Next is to get onto that flatbread. It's an incredibly easy recipe. So first in with the self-raising flour and then the Greek yogurts. Add some salt, some olive oil, and just some cumin seeds because we want to keep within that spectrum of flavors. So I don't want the cumin seeds to be whole, so I've toasted them, but just going to grind them down a little bit, and that way they won't have bits in the bread when you're eating it. And some elbow grease to mix it all together. We're going to tip that out into the bench and then just use our hands to bring it together. Okay, so if you need, scatter a bit of flour so it stops sticking, and then just get into a rough log so we can cut into some portions, and we'll just go into 4 pieces. Okay, and roll them out until they're nice and thin, and then just to make sure they don't stick together, I'm just going to pile them on some baking paper, and then we'll start cooking them straight away. So if you don't have a rolling pin, just use your hands. See, okay, there it is. No rolling pin, pretty much the same, so you don't really need one. Okay, let's finish these off. So I've got the flatbreads, got the pan on medium heat, and you'll see here, we don't use a lot of oil or anything in the pan, just a little bit of a brush. And we'll just work with one flatbread at a time. You could even use a char grill and get some nice bar marks on it, but just one flatbread at a time. Pop it in, it's not gonna stick. Leave it there for a few minutes so you can do a sneak peek and check how it's going. Tiny bit of a brush of oil and a quick flip. So our final component is making the crispy chorizo, or chorizo, if you want to be fancy and authentic. That's chorizo. You gotta be like, let it roll. So I'm using some raw chorizo, or chorizo. I'm not gonna be able to stop saying that. So you get dry chorizo and raw chorizo. I'm using the raw one here because that way it's gonna get a lot crispier. We're gonna get a beautiful oil out of it. And I just think the flavor's a bit better for this recipe. All you're gonna do with the raw one is you're gonna have to squeeze the meat out of the casings, which is not the most beautiful thing to do in the world, but it has to be done. And then we're gonna chop it up finely before we crisp it up in the pan. Now I'm gonna go into a cold pan. And the reason I'm using a cold pan start is that we wanna draw out all the fat and the oil from the chorizo, whereas if we went straight into a hot pan, it would start crisping up and it wouldn't draw out all that flavor and render that fat. And just I'm gonna kickstart it with a tiny bit of oil as well. As it's gonna cook down as well, just use a spatula to break up the meat, and that way we're gonna have lots of bit of crunchy pieces. Beautiful, team effort, look at this. How many people does it take to crisp chorizo? 5. So you can see all that oil has rendered out, and the chorizo is beautiful and crisp. If you use dry chorizo, it would probably have burnt by now, but because we use the raw chorizo, we've got a lot more oil to work with. Okay, so chorizo has crisped. I'm gonna be draining it through a sieve, and that way we're gonna keep the crispiness of the chorizo, and we're gonna be able to reserve the oil. Let it go cool slightly to the side, get the rest of our elements, and we can plate up. So first with that hummus, and this is where you wanna get some swirls. So get a nice spoon and create some big divots. Chorizo now, not the chorizo oil, just that crispy chorizo. Some of that PICKLE, and then some of that reserved chorizo oil. Just try and get it in the divots. Finally, a bit of parsley. I would do parsley, but I have no control, so I'm gonna do it sensibly. Flatbreads, chopped up, ready to be dunked into that hummus. So there it is. We've taken hummus, we've most certainly pimped it, and we've turned it into a meal. So I'm ready to dig into this, but if you want this recipe, head to delicious.com.au. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and let us know what you'd like us to pimp. Okay, Luce, let's break bread.
Beautiful, thank you.
What do you think?
I love it. It's such a clever idea. Effortless, entertaining. There on a plate, I love it.
Well and truly pimped. Have some more. Okay, there's dinner.
Yummy.